My beautiful family. Here, my name is Brother Gaggy, and my sister wife Joy. You recording, brother?
Yeah,
Okay.
recording it now.
Forgot about that. Yeah, but sister Joy, my sister wife Joy Reyes. We've been members of Couples for Christ since 2001, and we've been married for about a quarter of a century now. Actually, just 25 years and a quarter of a century. We have 3 kids. Nathan here, Jasmine back there, and then Alyssa's my youngest. We're currently serving as a household head within the community in this chapter. All right. So with that already explained. Oh yeah, we have our beautiful dog Maru.
My baby.
Yeah, her baby. All right. So since we're eating, we want to give it a liven a little bit. So we want to do something a little bit different today. So come on, family members, come on up. Woo-hoo! Because last time, don't worry, it's not interactive. You just watch it. You can sit back and relax. All right. Both of you girls over there. All right. Yeah. You always get the attitude when they're high school, so. All right. So today we are gonna play
Whoa, Price is Right.
a game show called Who is Most Likely, the Family Game Edition. Alright, starring the Reyes family. Alright. Have to let the music go live. So, we have these little packets here, and we will pose a question, and we will answer each question based on who of the family members is more likely to. Now, we practiced earlier, so, but the thing is, I was like, we practiced, I already know their answer, so let's kind of change it up a little bit. So, the answers that we practiced with earlier are no longer there. We put in some new questions. So, their reaction now is genuine, because I was like, we would go through the same format. I was like, oh man, your routine is always, you kind of canned responses. Well, let's liven it up, all right? So, first question is we're gonna read the question, we'll select our answer, and we'll show. And then one of us will explain why they chose it, all right? First question. Who is most likely to eat someone else's leftovers? All right, so, okay. Lock in your answers. And on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Mommy.
I got Kuya. Dad. All right. Alyssa, why would be Kuya?
Because he just takes anything from the refrigerator. Like if I get Chipotle, he can just take it without asking.
Wow. Why me?
Because you're always guilty.
I do that. I would take the food, eat it, and blame it on my daughter. and I got to the point that my daughters, and there are a couple times where Nathan's girlfriend had to put their names on their leftovers just so I won't eat it or Leah won't eat it. All right. But for me, if there's no name on the refrigerator in the containers, be for everybody. All right, next one. All right. Who is most likely to overspend on Pokemon cards? All right. If you don't know Pokemon cards, you are lucky. All right. 1, 2, 3. Alyssa.
All eyes on you.
All right. Jasmine, can I explain why did you select your sister?
She came back from this convention and says, I'm not gonna tell you how much I spent on my and my dad had to bribe her to tell her how much she spent. I don't know how much it was.
So, yeah, my son and my daughter, youngest daughter, are into Pokemon cards. My son's more calculated. Alyssa, our answers kind of basically gave that. All right, next question. All right. Who is most likely to cry over a movie? Oh.
Daddy.
All right. 1, 2, 3. I think Jasmine, Alyssa. Oh, Jasmine. That's all right. Dad.
It's the musicals I get to.
Yeah, the musicals get to me, get emotional. But I think Jasmine is probably of all the family members is the most emotionally attached when it comes to visual in the movies, you know.
Let me
Moana got through.
Let me see, right?
All right. Who is most likely to sing along in a Disney song? Right? Who is most likely to sing along a Disney song in the car?
Not me.
Daddy.
Not with this voice. All right. Ready? Locking your answers. 1, 2, 3. I got Alyssa, Dad, Jasmine. All right. Oh, Alyssa, why Jasmine, your sister?
Because she does. She just like if she's driving home, she'll just start belting out songs. I don't know.
And now you have a sneak peek with my family members. All right. I think we have. Okay. Here's another one. Who's most likely to forget an important event?
Mom.
Lock in your answers. Whoa. Yes, you're thinking too much. Good. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Kuya. Mom. We got brothers. Why Kuya?
Yeah, whenever I ask my son, it's like, this is an event. I don't know. That's pretty much what he say. Like, I don't know.
I select myself because I know if I don't have my Google Calendar, I forget. All right. Here's another one. Who is most likely to cook and forget to clean the dishes? Ooh. All right, lock in your votes. And it is.
Ta-da!
Mom. Oh, split a 50-50.
Right.
All right. Jasmine.
Okay, so whenever mom cooks, she goes, "Oh, okay, I'm tired. You do dishes." So I do dishes. That's what she'd say to me. She cooks, she said, "Oh, just also do the dishes." I need the lunch.
We bargain. All right. Our final question of the day is, who's Mara's favorite? Oh, our pet dog. Ooh, our parrot. You know, this in the beginning we would be very contagious, like, oh, the dog, I'm the favorite. But ultimately, we know who the favorite is, right? 1, 2, 3. Mom, yes. You know,
Whoever feeds Maru.
our
pretty
dog
much it.
is
I feed
very,
the dog.
very food motivated. So, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining the most likely the family room edition. All right. Okay. As you can see, you know, with your family members, if you had spent a lot of time with them. Why you sit down? You're gonna talk to me. You get to know them. You get to know little bits and pieces about their lives that you're most likely to. So with the Christian family, you know, you kind of have to learn about your family members, and just like how God has left the intent of family, we have to learn why. What's His intention of the Christian family? All right. So in the beginning, you know, God intended the family to be beautiful. You know, it is. I got double click on it. It says that if it is displeasing to serve the Lord, choose today whom you would serve, and the goods of your ancestors serve beyond the river of the gods of Amorites, in whose country you are dwelling. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. So God has intended the family to be a beautiful family, but not only just to be a beautiful family to love one another, but to actually serve as one unit. You know, in my family, we do serve, are very active in the community, not just in Couples for Christ, but also the parish. You know, one example would be when we serve in the church. You know, I serve as an usher coordinator, and my 2 daughters, even though they didn't like it in the beginning, they serve as ushers too. You know?
I kind of help with the bring up the gifts once in a while, if you know, because we're the one who asks for, you know, parishioner if they want to bring the gifts in front of the altar. So come to the church, we'll give you something to do.
Yeah. But the thing is, you know, that's the key part. You just not as a family, but you have to do things as a family. You go to vacations, and then you serve one another, but you also serve. You know, it may be capacity within the Couples for Christ, but also in the church. You know, because this way you are able to just pass on the values to your kids, just as if that's how they learn from you. The family is imperfect yet beautiful gift from God. You know, you have to realize, as you noticed earlier, each and every one of us has their own reasons why they select, you know, certain family members for certain things. Because one, we're not perfect. We're not all the same. Each of us has our own temperaments. Each one of us has their own strengths and weaknesses. And you have to realize that God made each and every one of us imperfect for a perfect family. I always look at it like a puzzle. You know, if you take an individual piece of a puzzle, it's all crooked, it's all round, it's all chopped up in the middle. But once you put it together, each family member together, and you step back, take a look, it's a beautiful picture. And your family, a Christian family, is the exact same way. You know, I wouldn't be here who I am today without my wife, and vice versa. And the attitudes I have in my Christian faith would not be the same if I didn't have children, you know, and especially that one right there. You know, my patience. Run really quick on that one. But at the same time, that's just, you know, growing up as temperamental as she was when she was young, it helped me develop the patience I have. The family is imperfect, yet a beautiful gift from God. You know, Pope Francis gave this beautiful quote. I thank God for many families which are far from considering themselves perfect, live in love, fulfill their calling, and keep moving forward, even if they fall many times along the way. The Synod reflections show that there are no stereotype of an ideal family, but rather a challenging mosaic made up of many different realities with all their joys, hopes, and problems. And that's a key important part of what a Christian family is, because, you know, there's a lot of movie quotes you can pretty much say about family. Like Vin Diesel, you know, it's the family. It's, you know, you protect the family. You know, Ohana means family in Lilo and Stitch. So those little movies that come around and put together and say it's all about family. It's really important, because when you think about it, if my weaknesses as a father can be overcome by the strength of my wife as the mother. You know, I had in the very, very beginning stages of my family, I was very impatient. I had that anger issue, you know, and the times when I would get upset, my wife would be able to kind of predict it and kind of swoop in and kind of calm me down before I say something wrong or say something that I would regret. And those are the imperfections of the realities of life. You know, when you look at the family, and this is where I think it's also a disease, because when you look at Facebook, social media, oh, this is a perfect family. Oh, they're always going on vacation. And then you look at your family and say, oh, how come we're never going on vacation? Oh, how come my kids are always, you know, doing this and that? And that we set our ideals in the secular world because that's what we see. But ultimately, if you step back and take a look, that's not how God wants us to have set our expectations. He wants us to set the expectations of the Christian family. That each and every one of us is imperfect and can be improved upon. But as a one unit, as a family, as long as we all believe in Christ, you know, it is perfect. Now, you know, God created this beautiful thing about, you know, the Christian family, but He also has a plan for that family. You know, God has a plan for each and every family, no matter how different or unique your family situation is. He has a plan for each and every one of us. A lot of us here are migrants, come from the Philippines. It's very, very unlikely that everybody migrated at the same time. My mom migrated first, and then my oldest sister migrated a year later, and then we're a family of 5. Then the next 3 would be we migrate again all together the year after that. And then my mom had baby. We had a sister here, and then finally my after probably like 10, 15 years, my dad was able to migrate. It's one of those balikbayan situations where it's like it was just so confusing, and that itself is an imperfect situation. You know, growing up during my teenage years, I didn't have a dad because my dad was in the Philippines, I was here. So in that essence, you know, God still had a plan for my family. You know, He still knew where we needed to be, and what He wanted each and every one of us to do. And looking back, it's like, you know, I wish it could have been done better, or I wish this and that. But those actions that, those trials and tribulations that I went through made the father who I am today. And that's the exact same thing. Those situations that you come across may be imperfect, may be hard, difficult, but looking back, it's like, you know, I wish, Saya, you know, I wish it wasn't like that. But when but what you have to realize, those trials that you went through is part of God's plan. And you still have to maintain that God has a plan, and a plan for your family. Oh, no, you got yours, niece.
Perfect example. Perfect example. So I have a niece in Canada right now. So she kind of, it's the same thing, you know. She asked me for help, you know, to come, not hopefully in U.S., but she ends up going to Canada. So, you know, right now she's kind of my kind of niece adopted kid, and you know, we kind of try to integrate her with us, and luckily, with God's glory, she's an SFC at London, Canada. Yay!
Yeah. Now,
So,
a little bit backstory there. She's Protestant. So
Oh.
when she migrated here over to Canada, you know, she didn't know anybody. And the only person she really clung to was my wife, and that's via FaceTime. And to the point that, you know, and she had that yearning to find her faith, because when you're by yourself in a foreign land, you know, things get rough and lonely very quickly, and you want to gravitate to your faith, to your culture. You want to be able to meet other Filipinos in the same place. In Canada, it's cold 11 months of the year for where she's at.
always cold.
You know, it's always cold. So when she found a community of SFC, you know, she really gravitated to it, even though she wasn't a Catholic, or she was a Protestant, and they still welcomed her. Now she's actually SFC. So even though her beginning of her journey, as turbulent as it is, because she's by herself, God still had a plan. And now she's slowly realizing that God's plan is slowly putting her in the right place, and putting the right people around her. Right. In His plan, the Christian family is a community of life and love. It is a mission to guard and reveal and communicate love. Parents must regard their children as children of God and respect them as human persons. The fundamental task of a family is to serve life, to actualize in history the original blessing of the Creator. So that's the main intention of what God wanted for a Christian family, is to create life and to pass that transmission of life to your children. And when we say pass that transmission, is not just give them life, give them sustenance, but also the values, you know, because they would look up to you, and they would mimic your actions, your attitudes in life, and how you deal with the secular world, but which means how you react to that secular world is very important. You know, there's always that thing when in the boomer generation. My dad is the stereotypical Filipino, where it's like, we'll tell you what to do, and you just have to do it. You know, sabi ko kasi. You know, and I think anybody who's parents was born in the 1930s during World War II, I think they had that exact same attitude, and in some ways that made the relationship with their parents very difficult because it's like it's not a relationship; it's just them telling us what to do, and but God's main intention is not just for us to be a family in word, but also in action. He wants us to pass on the values that he wants as for our faith and family and love. The family is a place for teaching children and training leaders. That's, for me, is a very critical thing, because when you look at your father, look at your mother, there's certain traits that you inherently get from them through just genetics. But the biggest thing is the nurturing part. If a mom nurtures a child, there's a certain transmission of values that's passed on, and being a mom or being a dad, I have to step up my service or my personality to a certain level so that my children can see, okay, dad is able to handle this situation. How did he handle it? I will follow the exact same way. There are times where being an usher so we actually started ushering during COVID. So right after COVID, or towards the end of COVID, no one was going back to church. So somehow I was drawn into ushering and being able to help out during that return to normal phase. But during the time, everyone was afraid. So I still remember we had a little sign-up sheet that each person had to sign up online. So, and then we would assign a specific pew for them. So that way you had the right spacing. I had to check the mask and all that stuff. And there was a lot of stuff that we were doing. But there was also there was also times where, some of the parishioners were not as friendly, let's just say. So those times I had to dig deep down, be more loving, be more understanding with that situation. Because remember, people were scared, people were lost. So my kids were there, were seeing me how I interact with them. Where there are times where they were really mad at me, they would get upset, and I just had to maintain that loving face, just but be firm on the guidelines during the church. So in the same sense, as parents, we have to, I wouldn't say just parents, but as Christian brothers and sisters, we have to be able to provide that persona, or I wouldn't say persona, but we have to be able to show that our Christian faith supersedes our secular life, which is we have to be more loving, but in the same essence, be more firm in our faith. Because right now, it's always being attacked. All right. God's intention is the family is a domestic church. There's a structure that he said. The roles of fathers are to be the priests of their families. The present God they present God to their families as an example how to live as a Christian. Like the church, the family should be a place where the gospel is transmitted and to and from the gospel. The family then becomes the evangelizer of other families. For me, this is really key, because if I'm not able to sit there and have my family sit around and pray together, my kids would then not be able to be comfortable in their faith. Later, my daughters will be providing some sharings, and the domestic church really shows them how they handle their faith in the secular world. You have to get your house in order before you're able to evangelize. Especially here in the U.S., we're being attacked left and right by the secular world, telling us, oh, you shouldn't do this, or you should accept this as your truth because it's convenient, because it's pleasureful, or it's the right thing to do. you know, but we have to really dig deep and maintain our faith that this is what we need, and we need to have Christ as center of this, our domestic church, which as a role as a father, you know, it is going to be difficult. Role as a man, as a father, as a brother, it is going to be difficult because you are the primary target of that secular world. Because they're going to say, well, you should do this because it's the right thing to do. Then how are you going to react? How are you going to do, what's going to happen if you're being attacked? And then your kids, your loved one sees that, and how you can handle it. All right. So what's the main reason why God's plan is not happening in this day and age? You know, there's a lot of influences, like I mentioned earlier. You know, God, one of the biggest things is God has lost his central place in the family. With, especially nowadays, with different types of families out there, you know, same-sex marriage, neglect of the Christian faith as being part of the family. Just saying, hey, you know what's an American lifestyle where it's like, oh, once you turn 18, you're on your own. You know, there's a certain attitude where it's like, oh, you know, you can't tell me what to do. I'll call the police on you, you know, type of deals. Whereas there's an imbalance. There's no structure. There's no order in the family. And that's the reason why is because they remove God from the family. You know, once God is inside the structure of the family, there's an order that's been set. You know, but in this day and age, with what you see on TV, and the biggest crime is going to be social media. What they see, what that illusion that you see on social media, what a great family is. You know, oh, we're here at, you know, Disney cruise while my kids are off doing themselves. You know, you get to sit beside the beach with a drink while my kids are off doing something else. It's no longer about the family, it's about me. And that's where it shouldn't be. The family should be about God as being the center. What else? The family itself is losing its importance. You know, I think everybody here has heard that, oh, the divorce rate is 50% or more than 50% of families are getting divorced. It's becoming a throwaway thing. You know, I think we were talking about earlier, one of the brothers, actually, you know, when you look at the Facebook Marketplace in this area, oh, look, someone's throwing away a perfectly good bike. This day and age, it's become a throwaway, people have a throwaway attitude with everything, including marriages. My first marriage didn't work out. I will always have that second one, the third one, fourth one. Before you know it, it's become normal to see celebrities having, 5 marriages, as if it's an okay thing. You know, once you have that imbalance where you have a 76-year-old man marrying a 20-year-old. Oh, that's normal because he's rich. You know, it's becoming a point where the word family is no longer important because it's such a throwaway thing. And that's one of the main reasons why, you know, God's plan is not happening in this day and age. Another one. Oh, the families are their type of evil forces. Primary example is social media. It's probably, as much as I love Facebook, Instagram, scrolling through, getting ideas for projects, there's also a deep hole that you can get sucked into where you're looking and just say, oh wow, oh, you know, this person has a beautiful life. Oh wow, this person is doing something that I've always wanted. Oh, my life is terrible. Oh, my kids are not getting straight A's all the time, 24 hours a day. You know, my kids are bad. You know, they're not living up to expectations. You know, and that's where you're having envy. You're envying things that are not real. And that's one of the ways Satan is really attacking the family, is giving you this perception that your imperfect family is truly bad and you don't deserve a decent family. And we're being attacked everywhere. First, before social media, it was just TV. You know, they would have these television shows that put these things in their heads. now social media, which is a lot more personal attack for each and every one of us. All right, but wait, there's something you can do in this family. So it's our hope is not lost. You know, God has given this imperfect family, or imperfect members in this perfect family to us, because He knows that we can overcome it as long as we continue to understand His plan. What can we do to help this plan come to fruition? Well, first things one is eat together. You know, I think that's not just for a Christian family, definitely for a Filipino family. You know, I'm gonna let Joy explain why her eating together is very important.
So, family background, so big family Philippines. I have 5 more siblings. There's 6 of us, plus the parent. There's 8. Think about that. 3 boys and 3 girls, and then my parents. So whenever my mom cook, it's like a feast for us, right? And then of course, if that big of a family, you know, you cannot just come here like, you know, come and eat what you know, as much as you want. You in the Philippines, you have to make it work that the whole family will eat the food. So there's you know, a rule of my mom that everybody will eat together, lunch and dinner. And of course, you always eat merienda, still, you know, the same thing. But everybody needs to be on the table. So what happened here, since Gabby's family is kind of grew up here and, you know, kind of busy, I know, busy life, and did not have that chance a lot of eating together. So I kind of make a point for my kids, you know, that we have to eat together as a family. And that's where kind of we start like, you know, that's kind of, I like my small house. We live in a townhouse. So that I can see all of them, you know. It doesn't matter, you know, and I always tell them that my tummy has a timer. 12 o'clock is lunchtime, okay? Okay, let's start with the breakfast. It's 9 o'clock. But when they used to be like the smaller one, I can always ask them to eat with us. But since they're at school, so breakfast is kind of gone already. Lunch, if we have the time, we eat at 12 o'clock. Dinner at 6 o'clock. So we just, you know, kind of, and that's where also the time that we catch up. Like, you know, the conversation start, like, you know, how we do school, you know. And after that, once in a while, we do what we call, my husband's favorite is the game night, you know. It's a movie night. It's a family time afterwards. So those are the things that we try to kind of pass to them, you know. Hopefully by the time that, you know, if they're gonna have their own family, that, you know, they will understand that family is important. Family getting together, not just because there's food you can come here. Of course you are welcome, but it's different when your family are all together and eating all at the same time.
And also, you know, especially with Joy mentioned, you know, sometimes schedules doesn't line up. Like my son works, and then after work he usually have to go to somewhere where he has workout. He has like gym, and even my youngest daughter has judo. So sometimes those things don't line up. But the key part is make the effort on having an opportunity to eat together. Doesn't have to be at home, but it could be in a restaurant somewhere. Because something about sharing food, sharing sustenance with one another, is really draws you in. And then, because if you're eating, there's nowhere you can go. So you're forced to really talk to your siblings and talk to your parents and talk to your children. Yeah. What else can we do? Pray together. You know, this is very difficult, especially nowadays. My family, as much as I would like them to pray together all at the same time, in the very beginning when they're young, it was a lot easier because, time to pray. We all get on the bed, we all say our prayers, and at the end. But as they get older, they got homework, they got things they need to do, so our schedules doesn't line up. But every once in a while, we'll have a time where we pray the rosary together. back to
Back to
my
me
niece.
again. Back to me again. So I think it started. I mean, we've been trying. Again, we're not perfect. We're imperfect too. So we try to do the rosary as a family. When they were younger, we started it, and then, again, it's more of a routine, making a habit for them that we prayed with them, right? So right now, I got to the habit too that praying the rosary. It doesn't matter what time it is, as long as we will pray the rosary. So my husband is kind of guilty on that one because sometimes he was so tired, just work, right? So I'm gonna tell him like, come on, let's pray a rosary. I was like, he's gonna give me the look. And okay, and then I'm not gonna give him a choice. Do not give him a choice. So we're gonna pray, right? We're gonna pray until we finish the rosary. Once in a while, he will doze off. Just need to wake him up.
She's my Jiminy Cricket.
So it's kind of. I mean, again, it's for me, it's a habit. I mean, before I try a time, but that time doesn't work. That's why it's kind of. And then in our prayer time, you can pray anytime, anywhere.
Yes.
It's not limited. It doesn't matter if you're in a car, sometimes I caught myself sometimes. It's like if I wake up in the morning and then look at myself in the mirror and then I start praying. I don't know why, just because I'm very thankful. And I'm very thankful that I'm alive today. I'm very thankful I have a job. Those kind of things, little things, It doesn't need to be a long one that you have to say to him, but I'm just making a point that I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed, those kind of things. Because come to think of it right now, there's a lot of things happening, right? And then think about it. I mean, I'm blessed. I'm not as affected as I am, right? I'm here. I'm blessed. So little things, yeah. From job, from my kids being saved, my husband, we have a work. So all this kind.
And also, prayer, you can also, doesn't necessarily mean sit down and pray together. Like I mentioned earlier, we are also serving together as a family in the church. So there's also other opportunities. Like nowadays, if you go to church, they have those food packing things where you come and volunteer and pack food. You can just help bring food to the church where we can goods. So those little things but if you do it as a family, makes an impact. And it's a bonding moment where you're actually praying as a family together. All right. And then of course, love one another. There are very, very many times where it was very hard to love my kids, especially once they got into like middle school and high school. Very difficult, especially when one learns how to drive and all of a sudden it's like, can I borrow the car to do this and that? It's like, oh, But the same essence, you have to realize that you have to love one another for all their faults and all their faults and pluses. They're imperfect, and you should be able to love them. Make time for the task to build a strong family. Experience the love of a family by sharing each other's struggles, joys, and hopes. Understand the role as parents, brothers and sisters. There was a time where there was a thing where it's like, I'm your best friend. There was where you see on TV the parents are their best friends for their kids. No, you're parents. You're not their best friends. Yeah, you could be close to them, but you still have a role as a parent. You have to take that lead, just like teachers. You're teachers. You're not buddies with your students, because once they become buddies with your students at that level, the respect kind of slowly disappears, and then they become, they look at you as a peer and no longer respect you as a teacher. Same thing as a parent. Now, you can be friendly, you can be nice to them and be able to love your kids, but maintain that role of a Christian family. Maintain that role as a parent. Fathers, model yourselves after St. Joseph. Mothers, look to Mother Mary for inspiration. Provide unconditional love. That's the key part. You know, unconditional love. There again, I'm always smirking because I'm saying I have to love my kids. You know, even though they're mistakes. You know, I love them regardless of their mistakes, their successes, and their faults. And especially the youngest one who's always messing with me. You know, I love her. I have to maintain regardless. You know, even though there are times where like, oh, I'm so irritated. You know, I still love it. That's unconditional love aspect. All right. So enough of me and my wife. I would like to introduce our two sharers today. My two lovely daughters. I would say, yeah. What's up? Introduce yourselves.
I'm Jasmine. I'm Alyssa. And wait, you wanna go first? Okay, I'll go first. Okay. Okay, so I was told I was going to give a share about how being a part of CFC affected my life, like as a whole. But currently, my life is mainly school and CFCY. Being a part of CFC has changed my life and shaped it in a way I'm grateful for everything I've been through. There's a branch of CFC which is called CFCY or YFC, meaning Youth for Christ. In CFCY, we have lots of different events. A major one is called YCon. It's where people across America, well, youth across America, meet up and just grow in a relationship with God and build a community together. One year at YCon, I was presenting a poem. It was also my first year at YCon, so I did not know what I was getting into. And then when I finally got there, they said, oh yeah, you're going to present a poem in front of 300 people, which I was not prepared for. But when I ramped myself up, when I finally got on stage, I froze and I could not speak. And no matter how hard I tried, no lines could come to my head. Eventually, someone ran to me and gave a paper with all the lines I had, but right after that, I felt really embarrassed and guilty because I could have prepared more for this. But because of the community and because of my family and everyone around me of CFCY, it helped me be proud of myself for being able to go there, being able to get on stage in the first place. And through that, I grew as a person and grew as more socially and have more stage presence and stuff like that. Okay. That moment changed me. It made me. This year I went to YCon and shared another poem. This time I rehearsed like crazy, and I had my parents and my sister help me with my poem so I didn't mess up like last time. When I finally went on stage, when I performed quoting from my dad earlier today, I had more confidence and more stage presence, and I learned how to embrace the role that God had planned for me. I was never a social person. I always kept myself, but through God and through my past experiences, I was able to get out of my comfort zone and learn more about Him and grow in my relationship with God. Through the CFC community, as well as my family, I've grown and will continue to grow in my faith and as my own person. With that, may God be praised.
Okay, so my little sharing is a lot less prepared. I'm more of a go with the flow type of girl, you know. So I'd say being in CFCY or being CFC in general, been here my whole life, you know, singing praise songs in my mother's womb. You know, that's how long I've been here. It really helped me become comfortable with who I am, supported me when I was at my lowest, but also being able to be confident in the fact that I'm Christian, that I know what I believe in is true and share that with other people. So in my in my middle school years, at the end of it, it was kind of like bad. It ended kind of bad. I lost a lot of friends and just decided to move to a different school. And these are people I've known for 6 or 7 years. So it was hard because they just didn't want to do it, didn't want anything to do with me anymore. So then that's why I heavily relied on CFCY. I had my first camp. We connected with people from Kids for Christ, and then I forgot who, but I think it was either my dad or one our CCs now reached out to me and says, "Hey, do you want to be chapter head?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what? I have nothing else to do. Let's try it out." And then after when I started planning the first GAs, first couple of households, I realized oh, these are people surrounding me. These people I can rely on, and that gave me the support of friends that I forgot I had to really be who I am and develop myself as a Christian. And then as I was starting to learn more about Christianity and for me Catholicism as well, I was I want to share this with other people. And that's when I started in high school. And my high school has this club. It's a Christian club. It's called Crossfire Club. It was really small. There wasn't really many people. I was one of 5 people in that club. And I was okay. And then the leader then was a senior, so she had to leave because she had to go to college and everything. And then she reached out to me and was "Hey, you've been really you've been participating a bunch in these these sharings," and she asked me, "Do you want to lead?" And I was like, "You know what? This is my chance." From what I said earlier, I wanted to share what I believed in. So then the next year, which is this year actually, I talked to the other leaders in the group, and we actually expanded the club into not just for Christians, but for people who want to learn about what Christianity is. And this all stemmed from just saying yes to going to this Camp Revival, and saying yes to being chapter head. So that's why being in CFCY has helped me so much. Just being in this community supported me and helped me see my faith and what I want to do. So with that, may God be praised.
And those my 2 daughters. You can tell their personalities differ, wildly different. But I love them both. So Nazareth teaches us the meaning of family, life, and its loving communion. It's simple and austere beauty. It's sacred and immortal character. May teach how sweet and impeccable of its training and fundamental, incomparable to its role in the social order. Amoris, Leticia. And also, I am terrible in pronouncing. My wife is the better part there. Alright, there's also a prayer that is given about a family. The prayer is Jesus, Mary, Joseph, in you we contemplate the splendor of true love. To you we turn with trust. Holy Family of Nazareth, grant that our families too may be in places of communion and prayer, authentic schools of the gospel, and small domestic churches. Holy Family of Nazareth, may the families never again experience violence, rejection, and division. May all who have been hurt and scandalized and ready to comfort and healing. Holy Family of Nazareth, make us once more mindful in the sacredness and inviolable of the family and the beauty of God's plan. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, graciously hear our prayer. So, ultimately, at the very end, God has a plan for us as a family. We have to recognize that regardless of us being here in the U.S., families being split from the Philippines in the U.S., or being single, that God knows what is planned for you and as a family. We just have to really work on ourselves to know that we just have to follow through. And how do we do that? By improving ourselves, being more connected with God, being more connected with our children and communicate, because that's ultimately how we create our domestic church is to be able to communicate, just like the priest communicates to the parishioners through the gospel. We have to communicate to our brothers and sisters through the gospel. So with that, may God be praised.
Amen.
So we will split up our groups.